Everyone, thanks for sticking around towards the end of the day. Really excited about this topic. It's something that we've been working on now for a number of years, and we're going to dive into it. A lot of things I'm going to show you here is not conceptual. I'm going to show you things that are actually happening, things that are actually taking place right now. So what we're going to talk about here is RWAs, right? Real-world assets, and why now, right? This is a term that got really hot over 2024, but it's something that has existed for a little while now. So anyway, a little bit about myself. My name is Andrew Durgee. I'm co-CEO of Republic, engineer, been in the blockchain space since early 2010. Was really originally focused on storage, custody, multi-sig protection. Was a partner at TLDR Capital, which was a #1 ICO advisory firm globally, 2016, 17, 18. And then I'm also managing director of all of our venture funds that we run out of Republic. We've got about $2 billion AUM across those products. If you're not familiar with Republic, we were a spin out of AngelList like 8 years ago, originally focused on regulation crowdfunding. But in 2017, when the ICO boom happened, we realized that ICOs are just another form of crowdfunding, maybe a better form of crowdfunding. And that's how we really started to move towards kind of the Web3 crypto space. Traditionally, that Republic has been broken into 3 primary verticals. Our primary issuance platform, one of the largest primary issuance platforms globally, our capital division, all of our funds and SPVs sit there, and then we had our crypto division, which represents about 80% of the revenue overall at Republic. Now, why tokenization? Well, when you look at securities just fundamentally have not changed since the early 30s. They've stayed the same. The whole world has changed, the financial landscape has changed, but securities have relatively remained the same. You purchase one of these securities with the hopes that you're going to have some level of financial return on the other side. But other than that, it's been just really a simple financial instrument. Now, when we've been able to introduce tokenization, we're able to fundamentally change how you interact and how you use those securities on a go-forward basis. Whether that is you're able to add utilities to it, you're able to add identity to it, and you're able to facilitate faster finality as it relates to these securities on a go-forward basis. Fundamentally, if you believe in tokenization, then you're going to see this take place at a global scale and particularly rapid fire over the next, call it 4 years. So it's not new. And I love to use this example. This is Stefan from St. Regis, our Aspen coin. One of the first real big RWA initiatives took place in October 2018, long time ago. They raised $18 million. They sold 18% of a hotel in Aspen, the St. Regis in Aspen. And fundamentally, that coin actually has performed very, very well. But real-world assets have existed. That's really what I'm showing you is that this isn't new. The term RWA is new, but security tokens or the tokenization of securities has existed now for quite some time. It's just very recently now that a number of things have changed, which has now gotten the attention of not just individuals, but also large-scale institutions. So what has changed? Well, the first big thing sits on the adoption side, obviously. And one of the big things that's happened last year is you had big institutional players really start to come in. Now, we have a big tip of the hat to Larry Fink and BlackRock for going through with the ETF process, which obviously brought in a lot of interest and also created a lot more comfortability around that asset class. So that brought a lot of institutional capital in. Ultimately, what happens when you start to add things like ETFs and add other financial products around tokenization, that allows people with mandates to participate. So whether that can now be custodied or protected now, or it can be banked appropriately, allows for these larger institutions to get involved. But the other thing that happened is tokenization really started to become a reality. Now, earlier in the year, Citibank put out this report that they expect around $4 trillion of assets to be tokenized by 2030. Right? That's a massive number. And if you just want to compare it to some other industries here, you're seeing that all of private equity and venture capital is about $7 trillion. So over half of all of private equity and all of venture, for example, is what the representation of value that would be tokenized literally just in the next 5 years. Right? So this number, in comparison to what you're seeing here, may not seem huge, but it's a huge first step. Now, this is before the world changed 2 months ago. or a month and a half ago, right? So now Trump comes in, Gensler's out, the whole industry's on fire. I don't know if you guys saw, he signed an executive order today around the space. It just now changes the lens of how people are looking at this. In fact, I would say even how we modeled it at Republic is not even close to what now we're seeing as the result. So now you start looking at, okay, how does that change how we're looking at what does the tokenized landscape look like? Well, now we're looking at maybe more, it's like $11 trillion by 2030, right? So not 4, not 6, not 7, but 11. And this number continues to accelerate. And this is a really good breakdown of ultimately how we're looking at what it's going to be between debt, investment funds, private equity, public equities, et cetera. Everything is going to start to run into this direction, right? So this is the first big thing that has changed now that has opened up the gates for this to be an opportunity. There's a second thing that's changed, and that is vertical integration. Previously, in order to be able to interface with this asset class, it required a very heavy and compliantly difficult process of working with 5 to 6 different companies. And here's just some examples, right? You'd have to work with a tokenization company, so maybe that was us. You'd have to work with a primary issuance company, so maybe that was TokenSoft. You'd have to work with a wallet company, maybe that was MetaMask. You'd have to work with a custodian, like a BitGo. You'd have to work with a transfer agent, something like Securitize, and then a secondary market, right, like an INX. You'd have to pass KYC 6 times. You'd have to create 6 different accounts. And if you're a business and you have to go through a KYB process, you'd have to go through what's often known as a counterparty risk committee, which is one of the most painful experiences that you can have. So very, very, very difficult to onboard into the space if you have to go through a very friction-forward experience. And that's not only for the buy side, but that's for the sell side. So everyone involved in the industry would have to go through hurdle after hurdle after hurdle to participate. So what changed? Combined all those things into one. I'm using Republic as an example, and obviously I'm drinking my own Kool-Aid, but there's other players that are going to come into this space the same, right? So we combined primary issuance, we combined tokenization, we combined wallets, custodian, transfer agent, secondary market, all into one interface, right? You pass KYC once, you create one account. This is very, very similar to what you saw something like a Fidelity or a Morgan Stanley do with primary brokerage, right? Where everything just got combined into one thing. You didn't have to go work with multiple parties. You didn't have to go work with multiple entities. So what you're talking about is the maturation of the space, particularly as it relates to real-world assets, this unique asset class, right? This agnostic asset class that can touch a variety of different types. That is the 2 fundamental changes that now makes this viable. This is now why you're seeing this pop up at one after another, because the friction is becoming less and less and less. So one account, one KYC, one wallet, 6 businesses, right? That is fundamentally the direction that not only this part of the industry has to go, but everywhere, right? So now I want to talk about the art of the possible. So the examples I'm going to give here are what is happening. And really, the reason I want to give you these examples is because I want to get you guys thinking about what are other opportunities that you can come up with, or other opportunities that are available that you can start pushing through this. Because there's a real buy-side interest, and I'll give you a really great example of that. One of the first big ones that we had done is we tokenized Watford. It's a football club out of the UK. It's been around for over 100 years, right? So we sold around 10% of Watford to the fan base. We tokenized the equity, real equity, not some random speculative token, the real equity of the club. We tokenized that equity, and we sold that to the fans, and we sold that to some institutions. We gave Bloomberg the exclusive on this at the time, and it was the #1 read article for the year. That's how much interest it is, right? This is an asset class, sports in particular, and I love the culture assets, and I'll talk a little bit about why we started with culture assets. But we loved culture assets as an entry point. And it became very clear to us that it was an asset class that not only retail hasn't been able to touch, but even a variety of accredited and wealthy investors have not been able to touch. It's really been kept out of everybody's hands, right? Took 10% of Watford, sold that to the fans, true equity. They sit in the waterfall. That means the ownership cannot take out profits without paying the token holders pro rata through our platform. And then we build utilities into it, right? This is the evolution of the security, right? We build utilities. You have a certain amount of tokens. You can meet the players, travel with the team. You have your own entrance to the stadium. You have your own Wi-Fi to the stadium. You have your own swag. You have your own concession areas. It's a deeper way to engage with the fan base, right? And we fundamentally believe that if you are attached to the emotional upside of the club, that you should be attached to the financial upside of the club. So what does that mean? That means that season ticket holders globally, not just for European football, but for all sports, inevitably will be equity holders. If you're a season ticket holder, you will be an equity holder. That is the direction, ultimately, that the space is going to go. So this was insane. This sold out like instantaneously. It was a huge win. And now we have like 50 other clubs that we're doing. Football, rugby, cricket, sailing, everything you can possibly imagine. And we do plan to hopefully do one of the big one of the big four teams this coming year. So again, asset class that retail has not been able to touch, that even a variety of even very wealthy creds haven't been able to touch, and now we've been able to unlock it and create a secondary market opportunity so that people can participate with it more and more deeply, and creates an engagement system for that club. So we keep going. Again, culture assets. So why do we like culture assets? Well, culture assets was the easiest way to deliver the technology into retail people's hands. You wanted to give them products that they're passionate about and they care about, right? If you're spending $3,000 to go to a Taylor Swift concert, that is not a great financial decision, but you're doing it anyway. Why? Because you're passionate about it and you want to be a part of it, right? So we want to deliver them products that they want to be passionate about, that they may take the extra step to go and onboard and learn about it. So Pressman Films, if you guys aren't familiar, they made Wall Street and Conan and American Psycho. We tokenized their film slate. Again, something that just sold out absolutely instantly. And we're doing this now with dozens and dozens of other films and franchises. Same thing, you own a certain amount of, these are tokens, this is equity. You own a certain amount of this equity, you can meet the cast, you can go to the set, maybe you can be an extra in the film, you can go to the premiere. Again, a deeper way to connect with the things ultimately they're passionate about while still being attached to the financial component of that asset. That's what we're talking about when we're saying we're changing securities on a go-forward basis. So love film. Film has been a huge win for us. If you've been oh, we're missing a piece. Well, there's another graphic. I don't know why it's not showing up. But if you've been following us in the news, Hamilton Lane, big financial institution here in the U.S. out of Pennsylvania. We're starting to tokenize their products and tokenize their retail funds. Right? So now we're talking about, originally we were talking about culture assets. Now we're moving more into the more pure financial sector, right? But once you've onboarded people in through the culture assets, then you can start to cross-sell them into things like these Hamilton Lane products, right? Or maybe Franklin Templeton products, or pick other mixtures of funds and real estate. But before you can get to that phase, you have to be able to onboard people, and that's why we really liked the culture direction. And that ended up being a really big win for us and for the industry as a whole. Music, every single music deal that we've done also basically sells out instantly, right? Now, let's say you're an artist and you don't want to pay the incredibly insane predatory fees that the record labels are going to force you into, and you have a huge following already. You can come to Republic or Republic-like business. You can tokenize the future equity or future earnings of that song or that album, and your fans are the ones that can then help you make that, right? When we first started delivering this, and one of my favorite anecdotes was, particularly around the film side, is if we do one of these offerings and we sell to 40,000 fans, say we sell $5 million or $10 million into 40,000 fans of a film, that director or that studio knows already that they've sold 40,000 tickets to that show, right? Before the movie has even come out. And no one goes to the film by themselves, so ultimately that's probably maybe 80,000 tickets. And if you already have pre-sold that amount, how you market the film, how you greenlight a second film, how you approach a film is now entirely different, right? So all of these different creatives, how we approach creatives now fundamentally change. Greg Silverman is head of Stampede Ventures. He was the president of Warner Brothers. He made every movie you ever loved. He greenlit every movie you ever loved, whether it's like a Hangover or Inception or Dark Knight. And when I originally brought him the idea a number of years ago, I said, what would you pay for 40,000 people tweeting and TikToking about the film before it comes out? Because they're attached to the upside. They want the film to be successful. Because I know exactly what I pay. You know, that's part of our marketing budget. I'm like, well, what instead of you paying them, they paid you? And that was like the mic drop moment for that industry. That's when it fundamentally changed. Anyway, I'm out of time. I could talk about this all day, whether it's commodities or currencies, etc. If you want to find me, I'll be in the back. But thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.